Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. back again for another episode of the Dale Jr. Download. This Tuesday we're going to cover the race at Kansas, an incredible race for the NASCAR Cup Series. And also, Chris Buescher is going to call in and tell us about his experience of almost winning. And we're just going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about the schedule changes that may be coming down the pipe for NASCAR and everything else going on in the sport. Let's get started. The following is a production of Dirty Mo Media. All right, so back in the Bojangles Studio, and usually we have the winner call in. Larson is traveling today, so we got the other winner, Chris Buescher. So
I wouldn't call him a winner.
Say again?
I wouldn't necessarily call him a winner in this situation.
I'd like you to say that to his face.
Well, I mean, hey, I was rooting for Buescher, but
Man,
he didn't win the race.
Let's try to be nice to our guests.
You're right.
Call in.
Hey,
Okay?
I love Buescher.
Let's
I love
not-
Buescher.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That. Okay. Hey, when for a second we all thought the guy was a winner.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're lying if you say otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The pylon said it. The transponder said it.
I mean, there was a very short
Timing
period of
and
time
scoring,
where
yeah.
there was a universe, a reality where he was the winner, and then he wasn't.
Yeah.
Let's get into that. I mean, let's talk about it right now. The conversation has already happened. You know, we're 72 hours or whatever beyond all of that. I think Jeff Gluck and his crew did a great job of sort of explaining timing lines, painted lines on a racetrack, start-finish lines, NASCAR's camera, and all of the procedures that go into that. And, we can talk to our guests tomorrow, Elton Sawyer, about their whole processes at the end of that race, right? This was, my experience, I think, was really similar to pretty much everyone else's. I'll be surprised if anybody had a different experience than me, but they crossed the finish line. I thought visually watching it live, the 17 was the first car to the line. Kind of goes to show, man, it's good that you got that camera because what I saw isn't what happened, right? Larson got to the finish line first. There was kind of two finish lines. You know what I mean? There was the one that, somebody painted a little extra finish line, and then there was the original finish line.
Yeah.
Did y'all see that? Right?
They cut it a little fat.
Yeah.
Like the apron didn't have the line painted.
Yeah. It was, but it was almost as if they painted that line, and somebody came by and added a little extra to the start finish line up on the
Larson's
banking.
team.
That was like an addition.
It's an abstract version of a finish
You ever seen one of those houses, nice house, and then it has this like addition on the side of it? It's not even the same siding. It's obvious like add-on, and it looks terrible. So that's what that looked like. Anyhow, I think the 17s won the race, and I'm like, dang, I didn't think Buescher was going to get it done this year. Remember?
Yes.
I was like, hey, guy's surprising the hell out of me. Here he is, run good all day, and then messed around and won that race. Seconds later, we're all sort of realizing that NASCAR's decided that the 17 has not won the race. And now, my mind goes into, well, how is that possible? I literally just watched him get to the finish line first. And I'm assuming, I'm not there, but I'm assuming timing and scoring said the 17 won. So are we not going by the damn transponders? How are we not doing that, right? What is this evidence that NASCAR has that says that the 5 is a winner? And then, we go back and see the photo finish, and the 5 is actually ahead. They slow it down on television. You can see the 5's just a little bit further ahead of the 17. So it's a crazy thing, man. What I saw in live TV, what I saw as it was happening, was not really what happened. Because as they slow it down and then we see the pictures, you're like, wow, okay, yeah, the 5 is ahead. And I saw Denny's comments on his actions detrimental. He said, hey man, let's get these start finish lines fixed. What the hell, will we ever come down to a finish like this again? Maybe not, but if we do, let's make sure that the start finish line doesn't look like this, right? Because yes, NASCAR is going to get it right. There's not going to be any debate about the winner, but the optics of the start-finish line being painted funky is not good, right? So shame on you, Kansas. Shame on you, Kansas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, get it straight.
Love
man.
your barbecue. Get your start-finish line figured out, right? And so otherwise, man, I was really happy with how NASCAR handled all that. And I thought that our media, Jeff Gluck and everyone else, did a really good job of sort of explaining what went down and not adding fuel to the fire in terms of like, oh, this is BS. It was a great moment, closest finish in history. We ought to celebrate that. Is anybody feeling differently about that?
Not at all. I'm totally with you on that. I had no problem with the explanation of why Larson won and all of that, but I'm like, man, it should just be easier to understand, I guess, the win for the viewer because, I don't want to have to go search for that later on Twitter to see, I can understand why Larson won now. No, paint the line straight. Get a camera that's clear enough to see. I don't know. So
I do. I am a little bit surprised that there is a difference between, I guess, start-finish line, timing lines, and a camera.
Right.
Right? And where the line that the camera creates, right? So that camera is set up straight across from the start-finish line over on pit road, high up over the top of anything that could obscure the view of the cars coming by. And that camera has a line that's the official line, right? And does it match perfectly with the start-finish line? Probably not, considering the start-finish line's irregular, right? And it's very irregular in this case. And so, was it the first bit of paint? Is it that second part that the 17's racing to? It's all that part to me did not, the difference between scoring loops, which are not right on top of the start-finish line, right? They're either before or after. The camera and the start, all of those things not synced was a bit of a surprise to me. Something that I guess I should have known about our sport. It didn't matter to me. It did not matter to none of us until we found ourselves in this position where we're basically having .001, finish.
Right.
So, do we have to worry about this going forward? Probably not. But it's interesting that, we've been watching races forever thinking, man, when you're a kid and you're racing on foot, there's a finish line. There's a line in the sand, whatever, right? A line's a line. That's what you race to. But we're not really racing to what that visual painted line on the racetrack, right?
Right.
But there are moments during the race where we use that line, right?
Right.
For example, like under a pit cycle, if the caution comes out, are you ahead of the line when the leader crosses it? Or there's a couple scenarios where the line is in play, all right? And so it's interesting. I guess we could talk to Elton about that tomorrow a little bit. But pretty crazy finish. Great for the sport. I'm happy. There were a lot of cars coming late with tires. A couple late cautions set up pretty interesting strategy there. Watching the in-car, if you get a chance, go on social media and watch Kyle Busch in the last several laps. His onboard, pretty spectacular. That looks like a lot of fun. I thought the fuel mileage race that was playing out was pretty interesting.
It was getting interesting.
Yeah.
Without an overtime finish, it still would have been a good finish, I think.
I think the booth did a good job of letting us know they were saving, and what I like to hear is that they're all saving. They all need to save. Who's saving enough? And then there's guys that don't need to save, and they're coming, like Truex. Right. And so that was so helpful to raise my anxiety and anticipation. Right. That's what and brought a lot of good emotion into the race before we had the cautions that ultimately set up a different finish. It seemed like Chris Buescher, man, was so disappointed by that finish.
I would be, especially when you thought you won the race.
Yeah.
Like you have all that elation. Oh, it's over. They called it. And then, nope, it's not yours anymore.
Yeah. I wonder, you'll have races in your career that you don't get over. You just don't. And I have a handful, right? 2000, I think 15 Talladega.
Yeah.
With Logano there and all that. The other Talladega I talked about the other Talladega with Jeff Gordon, right? Same sort of scenario. Caution comes out while we're in the act of passing, and it's like, man, I still ain't over those. I still don't feel like that played out the way it should have, and that I feel like I got the end of the stick. I wonder if he will feel like, I don't know how he can. I mean, he got beat to the finish, right? It was a legit deal. He didn't get like screwed over by some outside entity, right? But I wonder if that'll be a race that sticks in his gut for a long, long time. Not
to mention, it's the closest finish in history, so he's probably going to see a replay or two for
That's it.
the end of time as well.
Great point. He won't get a choice in
Right.
terms of forgetting that one or putting that one behind him.
Yeah.
I saw a stat somewhere that said that this is his first top 5 at a mile and a half ever.
Dang.
Like in the Cup Series.
Horse
That's what I swear. I saw a statistic on it. I mean, so that's pretty. I mean, for him to think, man, I'm not really necessarily quote unquote good at these tracks, and I'm that far away from winning it. Like something that I've struggled with. Gosh, that's got to be heartbreaking.
Plus, another heartbreaker is it was inches away from Ford breaking their streak of winless races. I think this is now their worst start since 2010, where it took them 21 races to win their first race in August. So, yeah.
Yeah, Matt Weaver said Chris Buescher does not have a single career top 5 finish on a mile and a half until Sunday.
Dang.
Wow, what a stat. Kansas delivers once again, and we are reminded once again how great the next-gen car is on the mile and a half. And fans are calling for more mile and a halves.
How do you feel about that?
I'm good with it. I'm calling for more mile and a halves. If you're talking about the Roval going away and Charlotte Oval going back to 2 races a year. I was never a fan of the Roval. Listen, me and Marcus are pals, but I've told him to, in person to his face. I'm like, hey, not gonna love that one. Fans love it. Yeah, that's. If you love the Roval, I'm sure maybe you guys may love the Roval. I don't know, but that's great. I mean, I don't control what schedule is, but I won't miss it if it goes away. And I think that Marcus is smart. He'll shelve if I know Marcus, he'll shelf the Roval and take advantage of this popularity that this next gen car has on the mile and a half. I feel like that we got the Roval because of how bad the product was at Charlotte. It's terrible. And so, he had to do something. And he comes up with this great idea. And the Roval was good out of the gate in the same vein that racing at the Coliseum was cool the first time. But for me, after 1 or 2, I'm done. And now we have a car that's so incredible on the mile and a half. I think he has to try to capitalize on the opportunity there for what it means to his racetrack financially to go back to 2 dates at Charlotte. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't do that. But I haven't talked to Marcus about that. Have you guys heard any rumblings about Charlotte?
I mean, the last I heard, I thought it was going to go away this year.
Yeah.
And then they brought it back. So maybe, I don't know. I feel like it's on the chopping block. I'm with you. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's not the Roval's fault. It's just taking away from a track that would be so good, right?
Yeah.
So it could maybe exist somewhere else, but I don't know.
I don't know why, but I have a hard time with a lot of our historical tracks changing or losing dates to something new. And that's part of my personality, I think. I've always been a traditionalist and have a hard time with the new cars. When the COT comes in or Gen 6 and the next gen. I mean, there was different any kind of aero change or wings and splitters and all those things. racetracks changing, Charlotte going to the Roval, going to Chicago even. I mean, that was I thought I was anxious and excited about a street course, but having to I guess when we lose something that's been a historical part of our sport for a really long time in terms of like a facility, a racetrack, it's getting harder for me to be happy about that or be excited about that. And when we had a really tough race at Richmond a couple weeks ago, I said, hey man, we're going to probably lose Richmond to a road course. And now the rumor is we're probably going to Mexico. And it's frustrating for me because there ain't nothing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Richmond, and we're going to leave Richmond to go race in Mexico. We're going to leave all these traditional ovals to go race a road course. We went to Chicago and ran a street course. We're probably going to go to Mexico. We'll have to see. NASCAR seems really excited about being able to go into either Mexico, Canada, Montreal, even overseas, right? Even if it's likely a road course every time. There's not a lot of ovals outside of this country, right? And so they're excited about taking this product in front of a national or an international audience. I get that. That's amazing for our sport to be able to go into a different country and compete and show them, the NFL does it. And obviously F1 races all over the world. NASCAR wants to achieve that. NASCAR wants to be big enough and successful enough for it and its race teams to be able to travel outside of this country and have amazing events. That's going to most likely be road course racing. And man, we have enough. We have enough. If we didn't have many road courses, it wouldn't bother me that much. But we got a lot. And what's whittling away? One of my favorite things. Short track seems to be because the 1.5 mile package is so great, we're going to try to add a couple more of them somehow. Yeah, you're going to try to shoehorn one or two more of those back into the schedule. Road courses are an opportunity to race outside of this country, Mexico City, Montreal, wherever else they may want to go, Brands Hatch, who knows. And what's got to sacrifice is our short tracks, which the package is not good right now. So it's easy for the industry to say, well, let's not go there. If our package isn't good or our short track package isn't exciting, our fans are not enjoying it, it's the one that's going to sacrifice. I'm a short track guy, man. I love short tracks. This isn't going to bother everybody. I get that. This isn't going to be a problem for a lot of people. I get that. But that's tough for me.
We certainly can't. I mean, this is a time where, like you said,
yeah,
we're focused so much on the 1.5 miles. I saw a tweet yesterday. Oh, just more 1.5 miles to get rid of the short tracks. Like, we can't neglect the short tracks. Like, we have to work on fixing the problem versus just solving it by throwing another 1.5 miles in the schedule.
If you're a short track fan like me, if you're a short track fan like me, I think back, 5-8 years ago when the short tracks were the best thing going,
mm-hmm.
and there was not a lot of excitement about adding more. And so even when short tracks are good, they sort of get the short end of the stick in terms of being a part of any kind of growth, right? They're not building new short tracks. Of course, they're not building any new tracks, but there was a moment where, man, we were racing. We had a couple big moments at Martinsville back-to-back, year over year, in the playoff race. And I'm thinking to myself, golly, man, if we could have this type of thing happening more often, our sport would be way better off. There would be way more conversation and excitement around it. Because the 1.5 miles at that point, I'm talking 5 or 8 years ago, weren't very good. And so we'd have to wait for another short track race for something to pop, something crazy to happen, and drivers to be mad at each other and there'd be drama. And I'm thinking, man, if we had that more often, more short tracks, creating more drama, maybe that drama would lead into creating some problems and exciting moments on the other racetracks that where the product was struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look back at the schedule from, let's just say, 1986-87, there was a lot of short tracks on the schedule. We were going to more short tracks more often. There was a lot of rooting and gouging, beating and banging that would tend to feud and simmer and stay hot throughout the year. Those rivalries and frustrations bled into all the other events, no matter whether it was a mile and a half or whatever. And as the short tracks whittled down, a lot of that kind of went away. But whenever we would go back, and the short track package was really good a couple years ago, we still had those moments that would remind you of what the short track package could be, or what short track racing to this series could be. I do believe that we will get it back in terms of a great product at the short tracks, but we'll be going to 1 or 2 less short track races per year by that point. And I doubt when that product does return to the short tracks, I doubt short tracks will be added back to the schedule. So it's like this long form sort of regression of short track racing as a part of the NASCAR Elite Cup Series. And there's this growth of short tracks that's been sort of linear and steady. Growth of road courses that's been linear and steady into the schedule, infused into the schedule year over year. I doubt that, Talladega and Daytona are really going anywhere anytime soon. And the mile and a half seem to be secure for the moment, right? And so it's like short tracks are just kind of slowly just moving out, just slowly moving away. I know that Wilkesboro came back. I'm thankful for that. But it right now, it's only an all-star race. There's no points races there. It's not been entirely embraced. It's still on its way back, right? It's not all the way back yet. All the way back is a points race, a 400-miler. That's all the way back for Wilkesboro. And with the way this short track package is, that's another frustration for me, or another fear, I guess, for me, is what does that mean for what is the current state of short track racing mean for Wilkesboro for 5 or 10 years?
What are your thoughts on, it was, it came up on the broadcast this past weekend that Bowman Gray could be making a return. If you're looking at, like, where could that fall? Maybe the Clash is the new spot for it. Like, what do you think about that?
I think that is what they should have done.
Oh, instead of L.A.?
Instead of L.A. Don't let that be the soundbite, all right? Because, listen, what I need to say is this, right? Much like, and I think I just did, much like the Roval was great the first time, so was the Coliseum.
Sure, yeah.
That was cool, right? And I know they have a contract, and there's legalities and reasons why we kept going back. You can't just say, "Oh, okay, I think one was enough. Let's be done." They can't. They've already signed agreements and so forth for that to do more than just one event. But in a perfect world, if you just could do anything you wanted, you would have went to the Coliseum and said, "You know what? We're not going to top that. That was cool. We're not going to top that, but let's go somewhere else." And Bowman Gray would have been the next logical place to take it. There are other great ideas, other places to go with the Clash. The Clash needs to stick around. At this point, it's never going to be what I want it to be, and that's 20-lap race at Daytona. That's what it ought to be. That's what it was intended to be. It's probably never going to ever get back to that original form, right? That was so perfect. But if it's going to continue, let's go to Bowman Gray, and maybe it's got a 1 or 2 year run there, and we end up taking it somewhere else.
Selfishly, I like that Bowman Gray idea because that's one that I can go to.
Yeah.
Being local here, but that means California loses a date, which is tough for all those fans out there. That's one thing that's like, and you touched on it
Wait a
too.
minute.
Like, what?
Did you see the stands at the last Clash?
I mean, it wasn't as good as the other ones.
It was
for
bad.
sure.
I think the only people in the grandstands were the spotters and the crew chiefs, all the mechanics that traveled out to do really a whole lot of nothing. Listen, I know there's a lot of fans out there. I don't think that if you were to give race fans in Southern California or the West Coast a race, you think they're wanting that? I think they're wanting Fontana.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're wanting something a little bit bigger. And I feel like that they let us know. Like, hey man, the Clash was great. Enjoyed that one big, first year, but after that, it kind of ran its course. That's just my gut feeling. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just thinking in my mind, when they were talking about doing the Clash out there, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, Bowman Gray's the way to go. Take it there. Why not go to Bowman Gray if you're going to do this? But, that's not the best business decision. Financially, that is not even close to what they're going to be able to accomplish out there at the Coliseum. So they go to the Coliseum. It does great that first year, and NASCAR succeeds. I'm sure it was expensive to some entities in the sport. NASCAR spends a lot of its own money to invest in itself, and they probably did there. But they're talking about Bowman Gray's coming back. I don't see any other way it comes back other than the Clash. They're not going to have a points race there. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So it's the Clash or nothing for Bowman Gray. And this may be all about nothing. Ben Kennedy might be sitting here going, we not even thought about that. We're not doing that. But who knows? There's a lot of conversation about what might come back and what might end up happening is, what's going on with Chicago. Is that how long can we race in the streets of Chicago? Is that a sustainable thing? Can you do that year over year for a long time? I don't feel like that's realistic. I think that it's so expensive to do that eventually, the crowd's going to level off, right? After the first couple of years, you're going to lose some of the crowd, right? You got to expect that if you're running this whole deal. The crowd's just not going to keep getting. That first year you're going to have the biggest, most interest and most intrigue, and
the rain's not going to help either.
Well, I'm just saying, once the numbers change financially for that race, where do you go from there? Is Chicagoland still available even, right? What's happening there? They dug that place up. Is it gone? What? You don't know?
No.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah. Well, I
No.
see it here on your notes. I didn't know if you knew something I didn't.
Well, it was, people have been throwing Chicagoland out. The return of Kentucky is possible.
Chicagoland may be in a situation where Chicagoland, who knows what it looks like, what state it's in. The surface of that racetrack, is it raceable, right? There's a nasty bump down in the middle of 3 and 4. And without maintenance and year-round, taking care of, is the surface even raceable without some patchwork and improvements? I don't know.
The location was not ideal for Chicagoland. Doesn't help necessarily.
Why was that not a good location?
Oh, it was just, Joliet is not. It's not Chicago.
We just raced at Kansas. It's not Kansas City.
Kansas,
it's literally the same distance from Chicago.
But the argument for
Chicagoland.
Kansas is there's more to do around the track, and it's a little bit more fan friendly. Joliet is a little ways out, so
What is there to do around the track at Kansas?
Oh, there's the big shopping mall, and there's a bunch of restaurants and stuff, places to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's.
The stadium, the other
maker.
stadiums are over there. I think it certainly, if you're comparing Kansas to Chicago, it certainly gives Kansas the upper leg.
What about, you look at Homestead. That's not in Miami. it's not even close, you know. But that's one of our most so it's like
right, but it's not. My argument was Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicagoland's location wasn't doing it any favor.
Right.
People,
I mean-
what about Kentucky? People want Kentucky back?
People do want Kentucky back.
Really?
Yeah.
Overreaction.
Yeah, such a weird track.
I think they're just grasping at anything.
Yeah, is it like, any mile and a half will do?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
We do this all the
Kentucky
time.
was not. Kentucky didn't race good. Driving on Kentucky was not fun. Turn 3, that flat as hell entry is just weird.
Yeah. There's a reason why we don't go there anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not just because the car.
When we
changed.
tested there back in the 2000s, you kind of felt like, really, there's no track like this. I mean, you can look at it. You can look at it from Google Images. You can watch races on TV. You can go there physically and watch a race and think, well, it's a mile and a half. Look, it's similar to this track. It's similar to that track. They all have characteristics, and one of the characteristics of Kentucky is entering turn 3 is super flat. It's just you wash down into the bottom of that corner, and I can't think of another mile and a half that has an entry anywhere close to that. And so, and then you gained banking, exiting 4 up a hill, and there was a nasty ass bump at the start finish line there too. Boy, you couldn't even run on the apron down there. You knock your damn eyes out. Fucking eyes would fly out of your head. And so y'all remember Jimmy Johnson went down there and hit the ground so hard and bounced up the racetrack into Brad Keselowski. It was a big wreck or something. Somebody bottomed out down there. I don't remember. I'm wrong. But there's a lot of drivers that have hit that bump on the apron and regretted the hell out of it.
Yeah.
There was another nasty bump low off of 4. You'd never run down there, but if you actually did, if you had to, you were in for a rude awakening. Turn 1 and 2 was kind of fun, but they had to get funky with it to get them up off the bottom. Right? They started. There was one time. I remember. I'm rambling here, but there was one time I think we went there and they had painted. They had painted the line for the apron, a groove up the racetrack, thinking, well, they won't run below this line. If we tell them this is the apron, they won't run on it. Y'all remember that?
This is the people who painted the Kansas start finish line.
Dude.
What is with these people?
Dude,
Get the frickin' lines right.
I think it was. They were thinking, how do we get them up off the bottom of the racetrack?
That is
we'll
a
just,
crazy
We'll
solution.
just move the line up and tell them that's the apron. They won't never run on it. Like, what? I think that happened at turn 1.
Who needs
too.
PJ1? Let's just give me a can of paint.
Yeah.
I'm gonna solve this right now.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna get my ass chewed on that one because I'm probably wrong. But anyhow,
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Dalton, I need to get something off my chest.
Yeah?
It is a stressful time right now. The month of May, man. Holy
Busy.
cow. It is really busy. I'm trying to catch up. But, we all carry around stressors, both big and small, and when we keep them bottled up, it can start to affect us negatively. Therapy is a safe space to get things off your chest and just to figure out how to work through whatever is weighing you down.
Yeah, I've actually used BetterHelp before, and it's been a great benefit for me to take that pressure off my chest from work life, personal life, anything like that.
Hey, Dalton, if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. I know you said you've used it. I've used it before. Super helpful, I think.
Definitely. So get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Dale Jr. today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Dale Jr.
where the hell are we? We're getting way out there.
You've got some big news today.
Oh, I do. Yeah, is it the worst secret? Does anybody? Where is
Josh Berry went to Stewart-Haas Racing last year. That was pretty well known.
Okay. I'm just saying, does everybody pretty much know this already?
I would
think
say.
so.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to say what it is?
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
I'll be working for Amazon and Turner next year. We've been talking and ready to get this out there, and I've got to go to New York City in a couple weeks to do some work for both of them, and so we knew that would reveal what was going on, and so we go ahead and have to put the announcement out, which I think everybody was aware. I had a great run at NBC, and I'm very, very, very thankful for what they did to help me grow and improve. I was raw, had no experience, wasn't a journalist, wasn't a radio guy, hadn't done any broadcasting in my life. And then, a couple moments here and there, but nothing like real work. Mm-hmm. And so I've learned a tremendous amount over the past several years thanks to the people that I've worked with at NBC. And so I'm going to move on and team up with Amazon, which is exciting because they're kind of new, coming at this with a lot of fresh ideas. But I think they know, like they need to stay in that sort of comfortable box that we live in. They'll come with a lot of cool ideas, I think, that might make things better or different in a good way. But there is this sort of understanding that we do need to keep it somewhat recognizable in terms of what fans expect in a NASCAR broadcast. So that should be fun to see how that all works out and what we actually end up putting out on television. The racing's going to be amazing, so we'll that's going to take care of itself. And then Turner, they've been in the sport before. They seem very comfortable coming right back in, like putting on a familiar pair of shoes. And so I'm looking forward to seeing their approach as well. And it's 10 races, so it's not as much as I was doing in the past. I mean, I think a half a season was perfect. I don't want to work a whole year, but I'm thankful, I guess, for me selfishly, that we have multiple partners in NASCAR to be able to work parts of the season, right, and not work an entire year. Mm-hmm. And so I feel very lucky because, I get to stay in the broadcast booth. I get to continue doing that job that I enjoy. And I look at it like, it's got a little bit of overlap in May and maybe a little overlap in August. But I look at it as, June, July. Amazon's June, Turner's July. And we're going to have a lot of fun. Amy and the girls are going to be missing me during the summer, but we'll make up for it the rest of the year.
What's cool is I love that Bleacher Report is in the game now as well. I know you're going to be doing some exciting stuff with them too. Yeah,
that's one of the things that came to the table with Turner, and I think Amazon as well. But they're going to want to create content that they can use. Some of the content we're already creating that they may want to access, and so we'll see. I've had the Bleacher Report app on my phone for quite some time now, never thinking that I would ever have any involvement, but so that'll be fun, sort of seeing how they do things and learning their processes and approach to create content, and always an opportunity for me to learn and use that in what I do as well here at Dirty Mo Media. So, I'm looking forward to it. There'll be getting to meet their talent, getting to meet all the other people that work in their sort of circle for other sports and so forth. It's just going to be a cool opportunity, and I can't wait to continue to learn and reveal more details around what the broadcast looks like, what the booth looks like, who's in the booth. What the rest of the talent will be around, the host for the pre-race, what our post-race looks like. And we're starting to have conversations with Amazon and Turner about, how we'd love this to look and what we'd love to create. And I'm hoping that we're checking all the boxes that the fans have, right? What do they want out of a broadcast? They want, pre-race is cool, but they love post-race. They want all the interviews. They want to hear from everybody. And so, trying to I'm seriously like looking on Reddit and social media and reading the comments about fans and their opinions of broadcasts and what they love, what they don't love, and trying to see how we can put together best overall, package there. You're trying to, you can't do everything, and we'll have to see what we're limited to. But I'm looking forward to it. I think that Amazon, for example, being on Prime, and they have a lot of not being cable, they have different restrictions or less restrictions in some areas, so it really opens it up to be quite different than what you might expect when you're watching a cable network. So who knows? It's a lot for me to learn. I don't know everything just yet, but they're fun people. Amazon and Turner, I've enjoyed getting to know them, and they're confident. They're confident that they can do a great job, and I'm feeling good about it.
Their Thursday night football product is really good. So, they already know how to do live sports.
Yeah.
It's not going to be foreign to them. I'm really excited to see what they have going.
Yeah. So we'll have more. We'll have more information over the next several months about what all that looks like. And man, we're going to be working our tail off. I can promise you this: we're going to work hard to make sure that we're doing our job, or I'm doing my job. We'll put a lot of effort into it, and hopefully it comes across. It's going to be funny because we've been doing 20 races for NBC, right? And we'll start off in the middle of the year, and it takes probably, for me personally, I have pretty high standard of where I think we should be as a broadcast. I feel like that we really weren't getting to our best work until like 5 races to go. So took us, in my opinion, maybe just me, took me like 10, 15 races before I was like, all right, man, we're hitting on all cylinders here. This is awesome, And all the broadcasts are great, but you would just have these moments where you're like, man, I got to get better at that. I got to get better here. I got to figure this out. I didn't put enough effort here, and I missed that, right? But by middle of the playoffs, I felt like we really were covering it all really well. With Amazon and Turner, we're going to have 5 race stretches, 2 different teams, right? So you're going to literally have 5 races to get it right. You can't fool around. We got to hit the ground prepared, running. We got to be ready, and I think we're going to over prepare to make sure that we don't end that last race and go, man, we're not even in our groove yet, right?
I know you said there's going to be more details that will come, in the future, but this is public knowledge as of today. Is like you're going to be doing interviews, ride-alongs with different people each race, driving for TNT with them riding the passenger seat. Are you excited to kind of show people your perspective of what it's like to be in a race car?
Yeah, I think that's always fun to see. Jeff Burton did that quite a bit when I was with NBC, and I think you always get a great reaction because I always used to say, so I give ride-arounds for our foundation every year, and that's probably my favorite thing is to put somebody in a race car or take them out in a car on a racetrack and really introduce them to what that's like. They've never experienced anything like it, right? And so they have you can't fake it. You're going to have a genuine reaction to it every time. And I think that the old opinion of, they're just driving around in circles, how hard is it, is faded, right? But there's still that there's still that sort of purpose that I think we have as people in the industry to prove how cool this is, right? To people that are just kind of being introduced to it. So I look forward to that every time. All right, everybody, calling into Dirty Air today is second place finisher at Kansas, Chris Buescher. And just want to thank you for giving us some time today, Chris. Wondering, where are you right now?
Well, I'm in the office at the shop. We've been building
Really?
for probably well over 2 years at this point. So it's getting close to being done at this time. But I'm sitting on my Mac Tools roll around stool for the shop.
This is your own personal shop.
Yeah. This is at the house here.
When you get this shop done, are you ever going to have a race car in there? Anytime?
I'm going to have race cars in here. I don't know if they're going to be race cars that I can go run on the weekend, but I have some of my old race cars that have a little bit of meaning to me through the years.
Yep.
I've got my first Bandolero sitting back there up on a lift. I've got actually, when we went to this next gen car, I got two of the Cup cars, my Pocono Win car, and just one of the random cars that I ended up liking through the years. So got a couple to go in here already.
Nice. If you could ever race outside of the Cup Series, what would you go race today? Just
for fun. I've talked about trying to run Baja a lot.
Damn.
Mentioned it to Brennan Gaughan. I know that he's got a lot more experience desert racing than me. I'd love to go give that a shot. Something completely out there, way different. I've dabbled in dirt racing here or there and had an absolute blast in late models and modifieds, but I would love to go try and run Baja, give that a go.
Man. All right. Well, let's talk about Kansas. You went into that race. We were just talking about it here on the show. You were 60-1 to win, which are pretty good odds for someone making that bet. Came so close. Honestly, I think you've probably had a million people tell you this already. I thought when I watched it live, the 17 car had crossed the finish line first, and I was sure that you had won the race. Now, as we all watch it back and NASCAR explains everything and we go through that whole process, literally lasted an hour or two after the race, all the social media conversation and everything, we learn, what the true outcome is. And we also saw your reaction immediately after the race, man. You were so, so bummed out. So, I think a lot of people really think a lot of you as a competitor is kind of tough to see taking a loss that way. Is this a loss, I guess, that might stick in your gut for quite a while because of the way it went down?
Yes. I told everybody I thought I was going to throw up on the way to the airport afterwards, I guess when I look back at it, if we had gone across the line and from the get-go thought we finished second, you would have been upset about it. You'd have been hurt about it, but it would have been okay. But to be in that, like you said, that hour of time, or really it was that first minute that everything was very confusing. We're trying to figure out how in the world we're getting this answer off of it. Transponders and timing and score and everything are in our favor. Obviously the painted line, which doesn't really matter, but it's comical right now to talk about. But to see it all play out the way it did, it just it hurts. And knowing the result now and understanding it, like y'all said, it's not going to make it any easier. You understand it now at least, but it's not going to make it easier. This one's going to hurt for a really, really long time. Some of our guys said, just don't let it hurt any more than 6 days. Let's just go to Darlington, win there, and we can put it behind us. So we'll try and figure out how to make that one work. But this one hurts. We finished second at Phoenix and to Christopher Bell, and it wasn't even close, right? I mean, he just walked away from the field, and at that race, second felt good because we knew we needed a lot of work to win. This one, to be that close and not be able to get it, it's gonna stick with us for a long time.
Yeah, and I think the unfortunate part is now it is taken over the top spot in the closest race ever, right? The closest finish ever. We have seen that clip of Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven colliding all the way down the front stretch at Darlington, which is still probably going to be widely played beyond this point because of how incredible that moment was. But you'll be seeing, images and videos of this, especially when we go back to Kansas, promoting this race, right, and promoting how great the racing was. So that you don't deserve that, but somehow you'll have to. I think it'll be interesting for you, I guess, somehow have to come to terms with it, right? Have to be able to figure out a way to live with it. I've got races in my own career that we talked about earlier in the show. I didn't get over, and I won't get over. Even today, I just feel like that I got the short end of the stick and deserve the win. But you do come out of that race with incredible speed. You ran great all day. You were aggressive behind the steering wheel with your race car. Incredible, 5-wide action down the front straightaway, which was awesome. And you end up almost winning the race. So do you have to come away thinking, man, that's nice to see our team moving in the right direction, at least at the 1.5 miles. Y'all had a lot of speed at short tracks and some other racetracks. Where do you feel like you guys are right now? I really wasn't sure exactly what kind of a season to expect from you this year, whether you could repeat what you had done in the past or even improve on that because of how challenging and tough it is for an operation like you guys have. So where do you feel like you are as a team?
Yeah, this it's supposed to be hard. We don't want to go do anything in competition that's easy. You want a challenge. And certainly that's what we're trying to figure out how to better last year. We wanted to fire off this season with what we were able to do in the second half of last year, let that be our baseline. And we've definitely had moments that have shown us a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. And we've had some that haven't been where we wanted to be, but we certainly fired off this season pretty good. We've been in the hunt for a couple of these things. I think for RFK, that's 4 runner-up finishes now. In the first, 12 races, 11 or 12 races. So, I mean, that's close. Ultimately it's not a stat to write home about because the wins are what matters. But we are in the hunt for a lot of these things, and I think that's what we're internally trying to use to measure. Kansas, 99.5% of that race. There was nothing but great things for us to pick up on and study and figure out how to apply forward. And even the last lap, there's plenty to learn from. I promise I wouldn't do it the same again tomorrow. But with that was our best 1.5 miles start to finish. I would argue probably actually a better day for us than our Michigan win last year. And for me, that's something I look forward to as we head into Darlington even. But outside of Darlington, getting back to some of these other 1.5 miles where the first 2 on the year, we didn't feel like we hit it exactly where we needed to. And, we're kind of struggling with whatever it is, whether it's, the new Mustang and trying to find a balance there. If it's, some of the lull through the off season, some of the smaller rules changes or tightening up of rules, whatever that may be, we haven't been where we needed to be on these 1.5 miles, and this one certainly was. If we can bring what we just brought to Kansas, we will win some of these 1.5 mile races. And the competition will step up and get better, and we will too. But it was a huge momentum weekend for us. It's just we're going to see the highlight of the part that we don't want to see the most, but there's a lot of really good stuff for us, for both of our race cars to take forward that make us think that we're gonna have another trophy a lot sooner than later.
I got to ask you one last question, and you get to work right alongside a good friend of mine and a great competitor, Brad Keselowski. He has he's done and I think I've talked to you about this before, but I know that Brad being an owner in this team is a dream come true for him and something that he envisioned for himself many years ago, something he would want for himself, and here he is, right? And he's enjoying the effort of that, and your own success has been able to validate his efforts to become an owner. But he is also wanting to go to victory lane and win a race as an owner, right? As win a race in this scenario. And he's getting closer. We're starting to see where that team's starting to really shine in some moments. Is that is the effort or the intensity of trying to get Brad into victory lane apparent inside the walls of that shop? Is it sort of this elephant in the room, so to speak? Not a bad thing, but is it a bit of a motivator, I guess, for RFK and for even yourself as a teammate to Brad to try to figure out, he's going to get it done. It just feels like it's inevitable at any moment. But is the anxiety intensity about that ramping up?
Probably, right. You can see the drive, the passion that he's got for the ownership side, and what he's been able to do with RFK through these couple of years is incredible. I've been under the Roush banner since I was just before I turned 16 years old. So half of my living lifetime, I have been under this banner, and I've seen it in the last couple of years come to a better place than I believe it's ever been in. With that, that's a good start when you talk about culture and opportunity and potential in a lot of ways. But our sport is measured by trophies, and obviously last year was really strong for us, and the Daytona win. I'm sure that there were a lot of hard decisions that ran through Brad's head in that moment in figuring out how to win, but also make sure that both of our cars made it back to the finish line, right? To be fair, I fully expected to be side by side with tire marks up and down both of our Ford Mustangs there, and it just didn't materialize quite that way at the end. But it's definitely something that you can see his drive, trying to figure out how to get to victory lane. It's and they've been very close to, right? Like I said, we've had 2 runner-ups from each of our teams this year, so we're knocking on the door. But it's important to them. I see what always put in to try and have this dual role, on top of being a dad and having a family too, but and watch them try and juggle all this is absolutely incredible. It has assured me that I have zero interest in owning a race team going forward. I cannot fathom the time. I don't have that kind of ability to process time like he does. So I give him an absolute ton of credit in that sense. I don't want it. I don't want it to have to feel like I got to work that hard. But with all that, the results are coming in and they're very close. And it's just a matter of time. Like you said, that we will get wins with both our race cars this year. But we're going to have to talk about it leading up to that point. And we're going to have to talk about what it feels like to be that close and miss first.
Yeah. Well, man, we appreciate your time today. I know you got a busy week and get ready for the next one. You're an easy guy to root for, always a professional. We appreciate you here at Dirty Mo Media and the Dale Jr. Download. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much, y'all. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. All right, you too. Can't wait to see what the odds are for Chris Buescher when he goes into Darlington. Won't be 60-1, I bet.
No, I think it's 22-1 to start off.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
That's the opening line.
All right, man. It's a lot of fun to talk to him, and glad to have him call in. Yeah, let's get started, see what you guys are up to today.
This first question coming from Marcus. They saw you tweeted that you saw Kasey Kahne at dinner last week.
Mm-hmm.
They were wondering how long has it been since you two have spoken?
It's funny, man. Kasey's shop's right next to ours here at Junior Motorsports, and I see every once in a while his social media activity, he might like a tweet of mine or something, and I'll be like, oh. Man,
there he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
and isn't that way though? I mean, with all your friends that you got friends, right, that you don't see all the time or talk to, but you'll see them like do something on social media and you go, it's almost like passing them on the highway.
Right.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Kasey, I always love to call my old teammates my teammates. They're my teammates, right? It's life for life. Kasey was Kasey was a great dude, one of my favorite teammates. I mean, I didn't really have any bad teammates, but I always liked Kasey, and we had some fun together off the track, goofing off, having beers and so forth. He picked up the Bud deal, after I left DEI, and so we kind of connected on that. I always enjoyed him. Easy guy to be around. Told him at dinner he needs to come race in the Cars Tour, and he said he's down.
Oh.
He says he wants to come by the shop because he says he hasn't seen a stock car in a long time. So I thought that was funny, but I would love to get him in our Cars Tour race, which we should be able to make that happen. We'll just have to see.
That'd be super cool.
That was the three things I saw on social media when you posted that picture. It was get him in a Cars Tour ride, get him in the 88, and have him on the download. I
tweeted yesterday, thanks to everybody for watching the Cars Tour race at Ace this past weekend. We had a lot of viewers, which was great to see. And so thanks again. I mean, the Cars Tour is it's a lot of fun. It's doing well. It's putting on some great races, and people are tuning in on Flow to see it.
That is awesome. We've got a bunch of people tuning in from West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Nashville. So the YouTube chat is moving pretty good. This one's from the YouTube chat. Rob wants to know, what's the bronze car that's sitting right next to you right there?
This was a so they give the gold. Goodyear gives the gold car to the Cup Series Championship, and back in the day, they gave this car. I guess it's made out of silver. I don't know. They gave this to the Busch Series champion, and this is the 1999 Goodyear Championship trophy. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, I never did win a Cup championship, but I grew up in a house with about 7 of those gold cars, and I would go to the banquet with Dad when he'd win a championship, and looking at that gold car, because you're a kid, right? You're like, oh, it's a toy. It's a toy, man, but it's made of gold. And you're looking at it, and you're like, the detail in this thing, and how much did that cost, right, or whatever. It's just that gold car that they still give away, right? Blaney has one. It's I think for the Cup champion, and growing up around Dad and him winning his, I mean, it's one of the cooler trophies. It's right up there with the grandfather clock from Martinsville. It's one of the cooler trophies that you can win in this sport, is the Goodyear trophy for the Cup Series Championship, that gold car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it always looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like you said, the detail on that's
it's neat.
Pretty impressive. Let's see. This next question coming from Kyle, and we didn't talk about it last week, but NASCAR said they're going to use multiple tire compounds for the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. What are your thoughts on that?
I hope that goes well. I hope that it does provide some strategy, comers and goers, all that stuff. I wonder how. I wonder, like all right. If I give you a hard tire, right, and which I'm probably going to have to do because it's brand new asphalt, I got to make sure my tire doesn't blow out on you, right? I don't want you running around there and lap 50, blow right front tire and hit the fence. So I'm going to give you a pretty good durable tire, and then I'm going to give you a soft tire that's going to haul butt for a while, but it might eventually wear out and slow down, and so you can't run it. You're going to run that when, right? When are you going to run that? You're going to put it on probably at the end when it matters, right? If it's hard to pass, though, which we usually hate, but if it is hard to pass, you might actually put that tire on and try to get track position somewhere in the middle of the race and hope that you can keep it with your hard tire when it's back on the car at the end. So that, we'll just have to see how it plays out. Typically, everybody does the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Like they all figure out what works best.
Yeah, and so we'll have a race where they're all on the hard tire, and then they're all on the soft tire, and when they're on the soft tire, they'll all just go a little faster, right? Hopefully it doesn't happen that way. hopefully somebody goes, I'm taking a chance and I'm putting the soft tire on early or before everybody else. And we'll see. We'll see if that works.
I'm all for.
I don't think you can keep the tire and hope that you have it at the end when the rest of the teams don't, because I don't think you can. I don't think it'll be so awesome, so good that you can just drive through the field with 20 or 10 laps to go because you hung on to your soft tires. I think it'll, you'll pass some cars, but not a lot, not enough to matter. And so I think it might come down to whether you use the soft tire early and you try to figure out a way to get track position that you may hang on to, like, if you're fortunate enough the rest of the race.
This is like unrelated, but aren't lap times like way, way faster with the new pavement? 2 seconds?
2.5 seconds.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah. And they took a big risk when they paved this racetrack. They aggregate the ratio of asphalt, tar, and all that versus crushed rock or granite, or if you're down by the east, or if you're down by the coast, you might get crushed seashell. Wherever you are geographically, whatever the most common stuff you're pulling out of the local granite or the local quarry, that's what they're crushing up, and they're putting that into the asphalt, and it's just kind of filler. It's filler for asphalt, right? Because you're not gonna. It's cheaper, right, than just pouring pure asphalt. That's gonna last forever. They used an aggregate or a ratio that had more filler, more crushed concrete and particles, right? And so as they're testing out there, that stuff comes out of the track. You want it to. And it makes the track have pits and divots, and it makes it abrasive. And so this track should age at a very, very rapid pace, which is interesting because y'all remember when the 1.5 mile package wasn't good and they made Charlotte the Roval? Well, they made Charlotte the Roval because the races there were boring and everybody ran right around the bottom. And the reason why that track wasn't good then is because they had just recently repaved it, and the pavement was lasting forever. It wasn't changing color. And the reason why it wasn't changing color, because the aggregate was rubber. They had actually used like rubber, recycled rubber and stuff in place of like crushed rock or crushed seashells. And so you're racing rubber on rubber. And the track just had tons of grip all the time, right? And so the fastest way was always on the bottom. And they were like, hey man, this is like the latest technology in asphalt. We repaved this track. It's gonna last forever. And we're like, great. And then after about 5 or 8 years, we're like, man, this isn't so great. And so, now we've learned all this, right? And now they're all like, okay, we're gonna spend money to repave the track and intentionally pave it in a way to where it'll wear out and age. We won't get a surface that lasts 30 years. It'll last 15 or 20. So we're costing ourselves money on the back end, but they know that the product on the racetrack is that important. So hopefully this works out for Wilkesboro, and hopefully it's around for 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. This next question coming from Debbie. What's the secret to finding the best pre-race bathroom? I know I've seen this thing happen. The national anthem happens, and all the drivers make a bolt for the porta potties or whatever bathroom is. Like, what's the secret when you're a Cup driver?
To using the bathroom?
Like to before the race, were you ever part of that like mad dash to like try and get to the bathroom before the race?
No. I mean, why would you want to wait till the last second?
Well, because you would want to wait till the last second, so you wouldn't have to go during the race.
Did you make this question up?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Listen, man. I mean,
it's a thing.
I don't think it's a thing.
It is.
Never heard of this.
Yes.
There's a mad rush.
Maybe not
of
like
drivers hustling to the bathroom.
Yes.
Before a road trip.
Moments before.
Absolutely. I've seen it.
They're not 5-year-olds
I know, but like sometimes it's hard to find
Get
like
to
the
go
right.
use the potty.
I've talked to PR
Got a
reps.
long
Yeah.
race now.
I've talked to
Got a long
PR
race.
Come on, Kyle. We got to
Go
go.
use a potty so you don't pee yourself.
You got to go potty before we start? I go now. Go now. We're not stopping. You better go now.
We can't start the race till you potty.
Are you lying? You better tell me. Yeah.
I love it.
I've talked to PR reps, and some of them have said they've scouted out bathrooms for their drivers, and
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
so
Okay. I mean, I'm trying to make
So
sure
no.
that that's all taken care of
yeah.
well before the race starts. The worst thing, this is the worst thing to put yourself through is it's about, say it's like Wednesday or Thursday and you're going to go to the racetrack and they're like, oh man, it's going to be a hot one this weekend. What? How hot? 90s.
That's
and
hot.
and you're like, crap. That's no fun. Because listen, NASCAR racing cars is great. The worst part about it, and it's bad, is the heat. This is 125 on a good day. We saw, remember California, or Chicago. Chicago, I think it was my first year broadcast.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
the
like
slide
my
job.
first or second year.
No, it was the first.
The Busch,
second race.
was it?
Yeah, Daytona was
the
first.
Xfinity guys got out and all of them were falling over. It was 150 degrees inside the cars. Awful. That was like the worst I've ever seen it. It's miserable. And so, you'll hear that and you're like, oh man, I got to make sure I'm hydrated, because I've dried out in a race and you start getting delirious, you start like getting dizzy, and you start
Seeing things.
freaking out, right? Yeah, you're gonna pass out. You really are. And so you don't want that to happen, and you'll drink a lot of water thinking, man, gonna drink and drink and drink, and there's nothing you can do. You can go to the bathroom right standing next to the car, and you're gonna have to pee again in the next 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and you're gonna be in the car at that point. You'll be racing. And so that's the worst part, is like, it's gonna be hot, you've got to hydrate, and you hydrate, and you're gonna have to pee in the car, and that's not avoidable. And so, I think, I don't know, I've peed in the race car probably, I can count on one hand in my career,
Because you timed the bathroom out right.
but it happens. Those are the worst. Usually it's not an issue. Yeah, usually it's not so, I'm not worried about the heat, and I'm not drinking in a large amount of water the morning of the race, putting myself in a position where I've got to go, pee a lot. So, great question.
Thank you so
really
much.
good.
Really proud of that
I'm
one.
just messing. It's a good question.
Well, I guess follow up. Do you remember specifically when and what lap that you had to use?
Yeah.
All right, we got time for one more.
Good. Let's not end on that note.
I've been seeing it in the YouTube chat. I think it's from Joey. Thoughts on NASCAR ever using like a push-to-pass type system that IndyCar uses?
No.
No?
What?
Get rid of it? I agree. I saw him ask it a few times.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Oh, man, no.
That would be sacrilegious, in my opinion.
If you can't pass them, sorry. I'm not going to give you an assist.
Yeah.
We're going to put a booster pad on the track.
How about if they're going to give a push to pass, just might as well give them steering assist. Here, let me just let the car just go through the corner. You just don't even have to do anything. Just hold it straight on the straightaway. Wow, right?
Yeah.
It's like a oil slick button
What
that
else?
shoots oil out the back
What
of the
else
car.
you want to do?
What
other driver aids do you want to give them?
I think we need more
Hey,
mirrors.
you know what? Let's get rid of the shifters. Automatic transmission.
Yeah.
Nice.
No more shifting.
I think that's a good idea.
Yep.
I'm all for that.
That's right.
So, Joey, no
Yeah.
push to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about this is all in video games back in the day. What about automatic brakes? Man, don't even have to master brake.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah. We
Man.
should fall flying into a corner.
We're going to keep you from hitting the wall. Don't worry. Just hold it wide open. Everything's going to be fine.
Drivers should get that little LED of like where the racing
one
line
Oh,
point,
is.
the
it's-
driving line.
Yeah.
At some point, the driver's not even necessary. Let's just have them sitting on the pit box.
AI NASCAR League.
Yeah.
Just running around.
Push to pass. What the hell? Stupid.
Well, that answers that question. That's a good place to end Ash Junior today. Maybe not a good place, but that's where we will end it.
We're ending it here.
No driver ratings. Wait, no. That was a. This is like an extension to the conversation we were talking about last week with the camera,
Yeah.
right? Boy, that got some people riled up.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the aero blocking, right? And the new in-car camera that's digital. It's so clear, you can see perfectly. All of my life, we've raced with cars with camera with the mirror up here, and you're like, you can never see good out of this thing. You can't see the corners of the car. You can literally just kind of make out like basically kind of a rough idea of what's going on back there. And now they have these little cuts, even in the Busch cars or Xfinity cars, they have these little cuts in the rear glass, and that really screws up the view out of the back, right? And so, hell, that's the way we raced forever. And that was good enough. And now we have these digital mirrors, and all the blocking that happens at some of the racetracks is more aggressive and easier to do because guys are like, if we've even Kyle Busch and all those guys even say it. Hey, I can just look in the mirror and just go where they go. Oh, he's going high. I'll just go high. Why do we want that, man?
This is such a dumb analogy, but it's like how I feel parallel parking with the rear view camera. I'm like, I feel like I'm cheating. Because I used to have to do the mirrors, and I'm like, it's so easy now with the rear view camera. I feel like I'm cheating.
And when you turn the wheel, it's got the
it shows me
bends, and you're like, you can't miss.
If you can't parallel park now.
You cannot miss.
Yeah, so that's how I feel. I'm like, man, it's got to be easy just to go up the track, go down the track. Yeah. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
But, man, we said, we were like, hey, we should maybe have a conversation about whether we should, take
open the door.
Digital mirror out.
Yeah. Stay away from that one, though.
Some people got mad. We should have digital mirrors because our cars have them.
I guess.
Technology. Don't get in the way of technology.
Put AC in there.
Yeah, we need
Apple
some
CarPlay.
radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see your text messages while you're racing.
Mm-hmm. Cup holder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why
Good
not?
stuff.
Anti-lock brakes. Should they have
Why
that?
not? Yeah.
Why not?
Someone said in the
cars.
YouTube chat when they open the video game, the first thing they do is put the automatic brakes on.
Yeah. And the driving line.
That's what I said.
Yep.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
So a driver could hit a button and here's the line. Just race this line. This is the perfect line.
I've been playing a lot of NASCAR 15 lately, and there's a redo button too. I would like
Oh,
that as
there
well.
you go.
Oh, yeah.
A
Yes.
reverse button.
Sorry for
There should
wrecking you
be
at
a
Bristol
button.
yesterday.
There should be a button in the car where the drivers all vote to do the restart over. Didn't like that one. Oh, we've got 28 votes.
Denny jumped it. Boop.
Yeah.
Caution, restart, do it over. Yeah.
That's
we could
it.
go on and on.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, we can get ridiculous with it.
Yeah. I would really. I think the push to pass. They had things in F1 where you could change the rear spoiler, stuff like that.
DRS.
I could not.
I'm with you on that opinion, by the way.
Yeah.
I was just asking the question.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the less
How dare you.
resources you have, the better, I think.
Yeah.
Big win for Lando, by the way.
I'll be
Put it
honest
out there.
though. I mean, remember the adjustable track bar?
Yeah, you could change it in
Yes.
the car. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Was
That
that
was something.
good? Did you
I
like
liked
that?
it.
Mm.
I liked it, but Denny and a bunch of guys argued that it made passing harder because a guy could just change his car, and if you were catching him and you're like, man, I'm gonna pass this guy, he's handling terrible, he could fix that, right? And then you're like, yep, not passing him. He fixed his car, and so I understand that argument, but I kind of enjoyed being able to. There was weight jackers, that people, they're in certain cars. There's always been sort of adjustments. You can do brake bias and stuff like that, and so I thought the track bar was sort of in the same vein for me. So I didn't mind it as much. I probably didn't need to be messing with it, but it was kind of nice while it was there. All right, it's time for Dirty Modo. Let's talk about all the bets that the team made this week. Alex Timms joins us at the table, and let's see how it went, man. How'd it go?
The predictor was 5 for 10, so average week there. But he got Kyle Larson for the winner, so that was good. Personally, we saw a lot of people follow the cash out, a long shot strategy, and bet a favorite live, and a lot of people hit on Larson, so they liked that strategy.
Nice. So, did you pull that?
I was about to pull the trigger on a Chastain because he had I could double my money in the first stage.
Dang.
But I waited because I was like, well, this is going to be higher in the second stage. He fell off, and that thing dropped like a rock. So I missed my chance. But it was nice to see it could get as early as the first stage. You can cash out for a nice profit.
Yeah, Chastain lost his track position. They were able to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
What about Ford's value? The value is big there. Buescher 60-1 to win.
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, they've struggled all year, but I mean, Buescher being 60-1 and was literally right there for the win was crazy. And it'll be interesting coming into Darlington, seeing how their value will change. But I mean, the books are not adjusting to Ford success right now. The minor success they had last week, so that could be a spot to target this week.
What are the predictions for Darlington?
Well, it's so hard to just not go against the favorites, right? I mean, it's another Hendrick car won last week. They'll be strong again. But Darlington's more of a driver's track, I feel. Not a lot of, if you're a good driver and, you can just manage the track, I think you can have a good run. So I might target some of those guys. And Ford, I mean, the value's there right now.
All right. Well, man, we hope it goes well. I think it'd be hard not to put a little bit of money on Chase Elliott. He's got an awesome-looking race car.
Yeah.
And I heard he's going to be wearing some skeleton gloves.
Oh, yeah.
I heard about that. So that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it'd be neat if he could take that car to Victor Lane, our throwback from 2014 Daytona 500 victory. Dirty Modo drops every Thursday, all on our Dirty Mo Media platforms. You don't want to miss it. Steve Letarte, Alex Timms, and the professor, those guys are going to tell you everything you need to know about the upcoming race each week. What are some good bets to make? Where's a good value? And so far, so good, man. All right. Thank you, Timms.
Sweet. Thanks.
See you. Time for the white flag? All right. Dropping Sunday night was the teardown with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi, and those guys covered all the action from Kansas. And probably if you're still looking for a detailed understanding of NASCAR's processes, that'd be a good place to look at the teardown with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi. Monday, actions detrimental with Denny Hamlin. Denny talks about the race, the car, how it's a great fit for Kansas, all the things he liked about that, and how he ended up seeing the finish of that race play out in front of him. Door bumper clear with Joe Edmonds. Those guys had a great conversation around how awesome, again, the race at Kansas was and how it differed from another race that wasn't so great at Atlanta. Those guys are so hard-headed.
Plus with Joel, God, that show was all over the place.
Yes.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
There's no telling what happened there.
Yeah.
So, they are hard-headed. Dropping tomorrow, Speed Street with Connor Daly and Chase Holden. I'm on that show as their guest. We talk a little bit about what my experience with the Indy 500 has been, and a lot of other things. Fun conversation with those guys.
That's awesome.
Coming out tomorrow, and then Thursday, Dirty Modo with Steve Letarte. Going to be previewing the upcoming race this weekend, telling you all the great bets and good values. DJD Reloaded will be out on Thursday as well. Carla and the team. We'll have a lot to talk about. I imagine they may pull from our episode of Dirty Air.
I'm
maybe.
sure there's something we
who
said
could
today.
Who could they call? I don't know. And tomorrow, as I mentioned, Elton Sawyer is our guest. Now, Elton Sawyer, I want to tell you, I know, everybody's going to be wanting me to ask Elton about, the current state of NASCAR and a lot of things going on in the sport. I've got, short track package. What are we doing to get that better? I've got some questions like that on my mind. But this guy grew up racing late model stock cars. So at Langley, which I was going to as a kid, my mom lived up in that area, and he raced against a couple of people that I watched or knew about. So I want to talk about his career. Also, him going into Xfinity Series and eventually the Cup Series, marrying Patty Moise as well, and how that was like having to race Patty for so many years. So there's a lot of good things to discuss with Elton, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of the direction we're going to go to fix this short track racing, which we all want, right? All right, it's going to be a good show tomorrow. Y'all tune in. We'll see you then.